We feel their pain. The truth is out. The case is closed. But our search for justice never slows.
Hey everyone, happy Sunday. It is the last week of classes for me at school, and then we have about a week and a half of state exams, and then I am on summer break, which is so exciting. I've been looking forward to it, and I honestly thought the past few weeks would have gone by slower because of the anticipation, but it's just flying. And I can't believe that my state exam for algebra is in 10 days. And I've only got 5 days prior to work with the kids. So it's definitely going to be a little nerve-wracking the next few weeks, I should say. Jeez, can't talk today. So thanks for being here. There's not many of us, and I know that a certain creator is going to make fun of me because I only have a few people watching. Better than zero. And it's my opinion that this case, which took the lives of 5 young women, is more important than getting hundreds of people watching me talk about YouTube drama. So this case, I do have a poll for those of you who would like to vote. I did see that all that have voted are not familiar with this case. So that's why instead of doing day 1, like trial day 1, day 2, day 3, etc., this case was not necessarily televised, but cameras were able to be in the courtroom. So we won't have all of the testimony. However, I was able to find the majority of the testimony. I also added some clips from back when this happened. So this took place on June 16th, 2023, nearly 2 years to the day. And this has been a long time coming for these 5 girls. 5 friends were driving home from being out. They were getting ready for a wedding the following day. And as they were passing through an intersection, unbeknownst to them, Derrick Thompson was driving at nearly 100 miles per hour. He left the highway and took the ramp at 100 miles an hour, ran a red light, and T-boned these girls as he drove through the red light. All 5 were killed instantly. And I did, for those of you who might want a little more information about what happened and the details from back then, I did put the link to my previous live in the description of this video. So if you should choose to go and check that out, please do so. I'm not going to be able to cover all of the past things that happened, but I knew that many of you probably would not have heard of this case. So I do have, before we get into the trial testimony, I do have a couple of videos and several articles that we're going to go through just to kind of give us some background knowledge and to, get ready to watch the trial. I will say, unfortunately, I know the verdict, but I am not going to ruin it for all of you. Mr. Thompson was offered a plea deal to which he said no. He was not going to take the plea. He also, shortly before the trial started, blamed his brother for driving the car. It was his fault that it happened. So this guy is a character. It's not his first time involved in a hit and run. Thankfully, with the first hit and run, which took place in California, the woman that he hit was seriously injured, but she did not lose her life. He was sentenced to 8 years in prison. However, he was released around 4 after serving about 4 years in prison. Before this crash, he had had his license 9 days. 9 days prior to this. And he didn't have a car, so he was using a rental in which he was driving. He also faced federal weapons and drug charges because said weapons and drugs were found in the car after he killed these 5 girls. So we're going to get into all that. He already had his federal trial that took place in October, and he just faced the charges in this case. So he was initially charged with 10 counts of criminally negligent homicide. However, additional charges, 5 counts of, was it third degree? Yes, third degree murder were added to his charges this past September. So he's facing a long time if found guilty in this case. I think it was 10 years per count with the criminally negligent homicide. I don't know for sure what the sentence would be, the minimum sentence would be for third degree murder. So let's get into it, because I foresee this being probably 3 parts. My goal for today is to get through the summary of events up to this point and to get through opening statements and body cam footage from the scene. So this shouldn't be more than 2 hours. It may go a little bit over 2 hours, but I'm hoping, based on the way I have it, that we will be under 2 hours or just over. So let me get this. So this is Derrick Thompson. This news clip is from June 22nd, 2023. So about a week after and I don't have my banner up. Let me do that right quick. Viewer discretion advised. This was about a week after I don't want to say accident because it wasn't an accident, after the event happened. So this will give us a little bit of a refresher for those of you who were with me way back when, and it will bring those of you who weren't with me a bit more up to speed.
10 counts of criminal vehicular homicide for the son of a former Minnesota lawmaker accused of killing 5 young women Friday night when his car plowed through a Minneapolis intersection.
Derrick Thompson now charged with 2 felony counts for each victim, with charging documents also alleging he had a loaded handgun and a significant amount of drugs in the car. Courtney Godfrey joining us with more details on what we know so far in this investigation. Courtney?
Well, Kelsey, Derrick Thompson faces 10 years in prison at minimum, but will likely get much more than that. The possibility of life, in fact, as the prosecutor in this case says herself that they're looking to make sure he gets a significant sentence for the devastation he's caused.
The devastating scene of a Friday night crash that took the lives of 5 young women, now the center of multiple criminal cases, as 27-year-old Derrick John Thompson now faces 10 counts of criminal vehicular homicide, along with federal weapons and drug charges. A complaint filed in district court today detailing how a state trooper clocked Thompson going 95 miles per hour right before he blew through a stoplight, broadsiding a car and pinning it against a concrete wall, killing all inside. Police finding more than 2,000 fentanyl pills and other street drugs, along with a loaded semi-automatic Glock inside the vehicle.
He realistically is looking at the possibility of going to prison for life.
Twin Cities criminal defense attorney Steve Mesh.
And honestly, I believe that he should go away for life. He took the lives of 5 young girls. He should lose his as well.
Besher says considering Thompson has now added federal and state charges here to an existing record in California, he'll get a harsher sentence.
The state judge can give him sentences for each girl he killed consecutively and run it consecutive to the federal case. And then he goes back to California, and the judge in California will then be able to look at him in a California courtroom and saying, do you remember what the terms of your release in California were?
Former Ramsey County Attorney Susan Gartner saying prosecutors across jurisdictions have likely been working closely behind the scenes to charge this appropriately.
The fact that federal charges are already in the works, the fact that there has been obvious communication with California.
And speaking of California, as the man that was just speaking, I had forgotten when he was released from California prison. So I looked that up. He was sentenced to 8 years in prison for that crash in 2020, but was released early in January 2023 due to time served and his participation in a program that teaches inmates to fight wildfires. So he served, I'm not sure exactly when he was sentenced, but let's say 3 of the 8 years. 6 months later, he killed 5 young girls. 6 months later.
It tells me that there has been very intense and very productive, cooperative conversations going on behind the scenes.
Now, if Thompson is convicted, the Hennepin County Attorney's Office has already said they'll seek a separate sentence for each victim, time he'll have to serve back to back.
Good.
In the newsroom, Courtney Godfrey.
As he should.
Fox 9.
None of this, concurrent. Consecutive. That's what he deserves. Okay, so we're going to fast forward a little bit to, actually quite a bit. We're going to fast forward to August 2024. So as a reminder, this took place on June 16th, 2023. Nearly 2 years to the day that this happened.
Just want to catch you up on some of today's news, starting with a plea offer being considered by Derrick Thompson. He's the son of former State Representative John Thompson, charged with killing 5 young women in a violent crash in June of 2023. Here's KARE 11's Lou Goose.
Derrick Thompson has 2 pending cases, one in federal court for what was allegedly found in his rental car, fentanyl and an illegal gun, and another case for what he's accused of doing with the vehicle, speeding 100 miles an hour off a freeway ramp through a red light and smashing into a car carrying 5 young women, killing them all. The cases are now more than a year old, and trials are scheduled for both. And the Hennepin County Attorney's Office says they will seek between 32 and 38 years in prison if Thompson pleads guilty to criminal vehicular homicide. He has until November to consider that offer, but on October 7th, his federal trial on the drug and gun charges begins. And there's no indication of a pending plea in that case. Legal experts tell KARE 11 News that Thompson would face around 10 years in prison if found guilty in his federal drugs and gun case. And in his criminal vehicular homicide case in state court, prosecutors have filed notice they intend to seek an aggravated sentence if Thompson is convicted at trial, citing that he has prior convictions for a similar offense, he failed to render aid to the victims, and that his offense is more serious than a typical offense. Because of that, Judge Carolina Lamas would have discretion to sentence Thompson to up to 50 years in prison if found guilty at trial.
And I mean, this is, again, the murder charges have not been added at this point. So he is still facing 10 counts of negligent homicide, criminally negligent homicide. that's still a lot of time, but not enough.
And that's where there could be some motivation to take the plea offer, up to 38 years in prison instead of risking 50 years in prison at trial. That trial would take place in December if it happens, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay, so they offered him 38 years in prison instead of 50. I mean, still 12 years less.
Thank you, Lou. Appreciate it.
Oh, and that was it. All right, so we're going to go to a couple of articles, and then we will fast forward to last week. So on, let's see, what was the date? September 2024. So he had been offered the plea deal in August 2024. He had until November 2024 to either accept or deny said offer. So in September of 2024, new charges were added. Derrick Thompson faces additional murder charges in crash that killed 5 young women. The son of a former Minnesota state representative is now charged with 5 counts of third-degree murder on top of the original 10 charges. The Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty announced Monday that a man charged with killing 5 women in a 2023 Minneapolis car crash will now face additional charges. In a news release, Moriarty said Derrick Thompson is now charged with 5 counts of third-degree murder on top of the original 10 counts of criminal vehicular homicide. In general, when we're talking about criminal vehicular homicide, it's some type of negligence. When we're talking about third-degree murder, it's really the highest level of negligence or recklessness we have. Prosecutors say Thompson, the son of former Minnesota State Representative John Thompson, rented a Cadillac SUV on June 16, 2023. Shortly afterward, Thompson was clocked by a state trooper driving 95 miles per hour on I-35 West, weaving in and out of traffic. He exited on Lake Street, sped through a red light, and struck a black Honda with 5 people inside. Behind every single one of these tragedies, there is a story of a person whose life was lost and their loved ones who have to go living without them. The crash killed 5 young women ages 17 to 20. Salma Mohammed Abdikader, Sarah Liban Gasaid, Sagal Baran Hersi, Saham Adan Adawi, and Sabirin Muhammad Ali. The senseless deaths of these 5 women at the hands of Mr. Thompson has devastated their families and communities. The sad fact is that he has done this before. Just 6 months before this crash, Mr. Thompson was released from a California prison for fleeing police, speeding off the highway and onto city streets where he struck and severely injured a woman. His lengthy record of dangerous driving, the trail of devastation he's left in his wake, and his conduct in this case make these more serious charges appropriate. We will continue to seek a lengthy period of incarceration to keep the community safe. Moriarty said her office is seeing more dangerous driving behavior. Last year in 2023, our office had 13 criminal vehicular homicides. Those are the cases where somebody is driving and their conduct leads to the death of somebody else. This year, we already have 16. Okay, so I think I'm going to skip. Additionally, Thompson faces federal charges related to the crash. Thompson was allegedly found with fentanyl and a loaded gun inside the Escalade. As a convicted felon, he is not legally allowed to possess a firearm. So that was just a quick summary of those additional charges. And in October, he went to trial, federal trial, for said charges. So the next article is where And I am so sorry I wasn't sharing the article that I just read. Okay, I should have looked at my phone. Sorry about that, but so now we get to the federal trial, which I'm not sure why this won't leave. Jury finds Derrick Thompson guilty on federal gun and drug charges. The charges are connected to a fatal incident in which Thompson is accused of hitting a vehicle with his SUV, resulting in the deaths of 5 young women. A jury has found Derrick Thompson guilty of drug and firearm charges stemming from a high-speed crash that claimed the lives of 5 young women in Minneapolis. Thompson faced 3 charges: possession with intent to distribute fentanyl, being a felon in possession of a firearm, and carrying a firearm during and in relation to a drug trafficking crime. Closing arguments in the case were delivered Thursday at 2 p.m., and then jurors deliberated for a short time Thursday and a few hours Friday before reaching their verdict. Officials with the U.S. Attorney's Office say Thompson will be sentenced at a later date. The trial lasted less than a week. On Tuesday, jurors watched a violent and graphic video from the night of June 19, 2023, that showed the 29-year-old Thompson's rented SUV running a red light at high speed and crashing into a vehicle waiting at a stoplight at the intersection of 2nd Avenue South and East Lake Street. Okay, I had June 16th written down. They have 19th. All 5 passengers inside the car that was struck were killed. But both prosecutors and Thompson's defense team told jurors it was not the most important piece of evidence they'd see in the case, urging them not to attempt to analyze the crash itself. This is a case about an armed drug dealer. We are here today because the defendant crashed that car carrying 2,000 fentanyl pills, cocaine, fentanyl powder, and a loaded gun. Calhoun Lopez explained Derrick Thompson's subsequent fleeing and lying to police following the deadly crash proves the gun and drugs were his. In addition, DNA testing linked Thompson to the items. But the defense offered the jury an alternative theory that was absent from the public realm until recently, when it was revealed that Thompson had a passenger in the rental car, his brother, DeMarco Thompson. Thompson's attorney, Matthew Dietz, told jurors that DeMarco is the flashier of the Thompson brothers and that he likes colorful, flashy things like the blue cap police found on the passenger side of the Escalade. Dietz added that the colorful wrap on the handgun matches those tastes and that the spot where the police found the bag containing the gun and drugs also points to the defendant's brother. The bag was located under DeMarco's blue hat. That is the definition of confirmation bias. It's tunnel vision. It does not make it right. This caused the government to charge the wrong person. But you, as the jury, gets to weigh the evidence and decide. So Bir and Ali, okay, so the 5 girls were killed as they headed home after running errands. Prosecutors said Thompson spotted a state trooper, exited I-94 going more than 100 miles per hour, and then sped through a red light at the intersection where the vehicle carrying the 5 victims was sitting. Witnesses told responding officers that Thompson had fled the scene. They found him nearby wearing clothing that matched witness descriptions, sitting on the curb outside of a nearby restaurant. After obtaining a warrant to search Thompson's rented SUV, investigators found a black leather bag on the front passenger side floor containing a loaded Glock pistol with an extended magazine, 3 baggies containing more than 2,000 blue pills, a baggie containing 14 grams of fentanyl powder, a baggie containing 35 grams of cocaine, and a digital scale. Prosecutors say testing of the seized gun and drugs found Thompson's DNA on all of them, and that a search of Thompson's phone found dozens of texts indicating fentanyl deals. Derrick Thompson is the son of former Minnesota State Representative John Thompson. He has already been convicted twice in Minnesota for fleeing police, and in 2018, Thompson was convicted of fleeing police and hitting a pedestrian in California, resulting in the victim being put in a coma. He received an 8-year prison sentence, and it is unclear how long he served before being released. And I had just read that it was only about 3 years, 3 to 4 years. Thompson's legal woes are far from over. He faces 5 counts of third-degree murder and 5 counts of criminal vehicular homicide at the state level. And that is not true. He faces 10 counts of criminal vehicular homicide. Hey, Remy, how are you? Good to see you. All right, so, and I don't know, that's one thing that I couldn't find. Let me look to see, what was Derrick Thompson's sentence in federal drug case? And of course, it's all to do with oh, here it is, October 11th, 2024. Let's see, United States Attorney General's Office. All right, it doesn't say the sentence, though. Okay, so here's the article I just read. He was found guilty. I'll have to look that up later on because everything that's coming up is I'll have to look that up later. Let me just write myself a note. Alrighty, so we are going to fast forward to last week. And that is when Derrick Thompson's trial began to face charges of taking the lives of 5 young girls. And this is where the trial started, I believe, on the the jury selection was going on at the time this happened. Opening statements were until May 29th. So a day later. So a day before opening statements, the defense files a motion saying that Derrick's brother is the one who was driving.
Well, we are learning Derrick Thompson's team plans to blame his brother for the 2023 crash that killed 5 women. This as jury selection continues in his trial today. Our Barrett Leone joins us live from the Hennepin County Government Center. So Barrett, what can you tell us?
Hey, Erin, yeah, we don't have a full jury sat just yet, but we're learning more about what the court is looking for in a potential juror, a neutral bias. So lawyers are following up with jurors who have heard about this case in the media as this has been highly publicized. We've followed it from the beginning. They're also following up with people who have been impacted by a serious or deadly crash. Now, today, we're also learning more about the defense team's plan of action in trial. So Derrick Thompson is facing a jury trial on multiple counts of third-degree murder and criminal vehicular homicide. He is accused of crashing into a car and killing 5 friends while fleeing police. A notice filed yesterday indicates that Thompson's defense team will provide evidence that someone else was driving at the time of that crash. WCCO has confirmed that person is Thompson's brother. Also of note, and ahead of opening statements, a second motion to remove testimony from a chaplain. That's coming from the defense. Court documents cite a state statute that protects a confession made to the member of the clergy.
And another motion that the defense had filed, the defense wanted the information about the crash in California to be inadmissible for this case. And the defense won that motion. So none of the facts related to his California case were allowed into this case.
So a jury has already found him guilty of drug and firearm possession in connection to this crash. Once a jury is sat, WCCO will have a camera in the courtroom. Look for extended coverage on opening statements, testimony, and a verdict on our streaming service, CBS News Minnesota. Erin.
All right, some twists there. Thank you so much, Barrett.
Okay, so I didn't check CBS News Minnesota, but one second. Yeah, I would have seen them on YouTube. All right, so that brings us up to the trial, which began on May 29th. So that was about a week and a half ago-ish. Yeah. All right, so my goal, as I said at the beginning of this live, is to get through the opening statements and also the body cam footage of the accident, the event. I'm not going to say accident because it was no accident. He deliberately did what he did. And then tomorrow we will get into family testimony, more body cam footage, and possibly get into the closing arguments and verdict. So we'll have to see. It may be 3 parts, but I'm going to try to get it done in 2. Alrighty, so let's go to... So I am going to mute as we move through the each of these clips. I will give some commentary in between. The opening statements for the prosecution is just over 22 minutes. The defense, just about 7 minutes. And then the body cam footage is about 20 minutes, just to give you an idea. Hey, Angie, thanks for being here. Hey, Grandma Sherry, long time no see. I hope you're well. I hope you are well. Excuse me.
Ali, Salma Abdikadir, Sarah Gassadeh, Sigal Hersey, Saddam Badawa. On June 16th of 2023, these 5 young women between the ages of 17 and 20 lost their lives due to the act of another that was shockingly reckless, incredibly selfish, and unspeakably foolish. One moment they were here, enjoying good times with friends, getting ready for a wedding the following day, and the next moment they were gone. They did not attend the wedding that following day, nor would they ever attend a wedding of their own. Some of them missed high school and college graduations. All of them had their futures stolen away in an instant. So what is it that could have taken so much so suddenly? What could have killed these 5 women who were just getting their adult lives underway? The cause of these deaths and all of the pain and the suffering that followed is present here in this courtroom today. His name is Derrick Thompson. He's sitting right there, and he's the defendant in this case. He killed all 5 women. He did so by taking a 6,000-pound Cadillac Escalade and driving it at extreme speeds while swerving from one lane to another on 35W. He exited 35W, swerving across lanes of traffic and still going over 100 miles per hour. He maintained speeds close to 100 miles per hour as he flew across 2nd Avenue and passed the speed limit sign indicating a 20 mile per hour speed limit. He disregarded all vehicles on the road. He entered the intersection with Lake Street by running what was clearly a red light at almost 90 90 miles per hour. The 5 young women were in a Honda Civic sedan, and they were just entering the same. They never stood a chance. The defendant T-boned the Honda Civic. What resulted isn't sufficiently described as a crash or a collision. It was an explosion. The Honda Civic was damaged beyond all recognition. No one from that vehicle could have survived, and no one did. Right after the crash, the defendant got out of his vehicle and almost immediately fled from the area without even checking to see if anyone was hurt. He was located nearby shortly after and was detained while police investigated the crash. He lied about not being involved in the crash. He lied about where his injuries came from. And he complained to officers that by holding him, that by detaining him during this period, they were ruining his Friday night plans. During this trial, you'll hear from some of the family members of those 5 victims, and you'll learn that the defendant ruined much, much more than the fun things he had planned this Friday night. He ended the lives of 5 young women and brought about a devastating wave of shock, pain, and grief for 5 families who will never be the same. Now, this vehicle crash was captured on multiple surveillance cameras. You'll see a fair amount of video evidence during this trial, which will include video of the crash itself. I want to play one of those videos for you right now so that you know exactly what we're talking about. Shortly, you're going to see a vehicle coming onto the screen from the bottom right. The defendant has been charged with 15 separate counts in this case. There are 3 different counts associated with each of the 5 victims, and that's how we get to the number 15. You heard Judge Lamas read the charges in this case, but these charges are so much more than just numbers and technical legal language. These represent real human beings. They're real people who had lives and dreams for the future. So I want to talk about these charges, but as I do so, I want to show you the people that we're talking about. As I said, for each victim, there are 3 counts. 1 count is for murder in the 3rd degree. 1 count is for criminal vehicular homicide for driving in a grossly negligent way. And 1 count is for criminal vehicular homicide for fleeing the scene of an accident. You're going to hear a lot more about those charges and the elements that make them up later on in the trial. But for now, I want to point out counts 1 through 3 involve Sarah Gasade, who's pictured here with her mother. Counts 4 through 6 involve Siham Adawa, pictured here with her sister. Counts 7 through 9 involve Salma Abdi Kadir, pictured here with her mother. Counts 10 through 12, Segal Hersey, pictured here with her father about a week and a half before the crash. And counts 13 through 14, Sabrina Ali, pictured here with her sister. As you heard from the judge, the state in this case is represented by 3 attorneys. That includes myself, my colleagues, Paige Starkey, and James Hanneman. This trial is our opportunity to prove this case to you beyond a reasonable doubt. We're going to do that by introducing 2 different types of evidence. The first type of evidence is witness testimony. It's going to come from people who will walk into this courtroom, they'll sit down at the witness stand right there, and they'll tell you about their personal observations. They'll tell you about the things that they saw, that they heard, that they felt, and that they did. That is evidence when it comes from somebody sitting there on the witness stand. The second type of evidence is more typically what we think about when we hear the word evidence. It's exhibits. It's things like maps and videos. Once all of this evidence has been presented, my colleague, Paige Starkey, will stand before you just like I am now, and she'll talk to you about the evidence in this case and how it's applied to the law that Judge Lamas is going to provide to you later on in this trial. So what is the evidence in this case? What are you going to hear about? Well, during this trial, I expect that you'll learn that Sabrine, Salma, Sarah, Segal, and Siam were all friends, and that they met up with each other on the evening of June 16th, 2023, to hang out and to get ready for a wedding that they had scheduled the next day. Some of them were getting henna tattoos done. Others were making sure that their wedding outfits were ready to go for the wedding. The 5 of them finished up their shopping and got into Sarah's Honda Civic. The plan was for Sarah to drop each of them off at their respective homes, but none of them made it home. While the young women were getting ready for the wedding, the defendant was at the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport. He was dropped off by his brother at the Hertz rental car airport location, where he rented a black Cadillac Escalade. He's seen clearly on surveillance video driving away from the facility in the Escalade with no other occupants. He then makes his way from the airport and eventually onto Highway 35W headed north. So as we're looking at this map here projected on the screen, we have the airport kind of off the screen or off the image southwest. The defendant makes his way onto 35W, travels north into South Minneapolis. At some point as he was driving north on 35W, a Minnesota state trooper by the name of Trooper Guerra observed the defendant traveling at a speed that was obviously above the 55-mile-per-hour speed limit. As Trooper Guerra followed behind the defendant, he began driving even faster, and he started swerving through traffic. This driving behavior is captured on surveillance video and video from Trooper Guerra's squad cam, which you will see. Trooper Guerra continued to follow the defendant, but didn't activate his emergency lights yet. The defendant swerved from the far left lane all the way across all lanes of traffic in order to suddenly take the exit onto 2nd Avenue South. The speed limit there dropped down to just 20 miles per hour. Just before he exited the highway, a group of cars had slowed down at the red light at the bottom of the exit ramp. Simply out of blind luck, that light turned green just before the defendant was exiting onto 2nd Avenue. So that lineup of cars was able to move forward through the green light and essentially get out of the way. The defendant blew through that green light, swerved around parked cars and moving cars, and continued on towards the Lake Street intersection. At that next intersection, there was a red light, and those cars that had moved through the area were slowing down and stopping at that light. But the defendant did not slow down or stop at that light. He went around the cars. He blew through the red light. The explosive collision that you saw in that video moments ago occurred right at the intersection of 2nd Avenue South and East Lake Street. After the crash, as you saw, both vehicles were launched north of the intersection and rolled end over end. The defendant crawled out of the Escalade right in front of the home of a woman named Dorinda Pacheco. You'll hear from her during this trial. Her home is at 2937 2nd Avenue South. The defendant limped south on 2nd Avenue, but as Trooper Guerra approached the crash scene with his emergency lights now activated, the defendant turned and hurried off in the opposite direction. Ms. Pacheco watched as the defendant walked right past her, cut through the neighbor's yard, and went around the back into the alleyway behind those homes. Ms. Pacheco then went over to her back deck around the side of her house, and she watched as the defendant walked southbound through the alley towards the McDonald's. She lost sight of him as he entered the McDonald's parking lot from that alleyway. After that, the defendant was seen by another witness. This witness named Muhammad. Mr. Muhammad had witnessed the crash from inside of his own vehicle, just a few car lengths behind the Honda Civic. He knew that something horrific had happened, and his instinct was to take out his phone and to just start recording. So as he did so, he drove through the intersection, turned around, and came back down East Lake Street towards the McDonald's and the Taco Bell. His phone continued to record as the defendant walked out of the McDonald's parking lot and right at Muhammad's car. The defendant asked Mr. Muhammad if he could have a ride to get out of there. Mr. Muhammad said, "No, I don't think so. I can't give you a ride." And the defendant then walked right past Mr. Muhammad's car and into the Taco Bell parking lot across the street. That interaction was captured on cell phone video, and you're going to see that video during this trial. Now, as the defendant was actively leaving the scene of this horrible, horrible crash and trying to get a ride away from the area, law enforcement began showing up in numbers. Some approached the Honda Civic with the 5 women inside. It was quickly determined that all 5 women had already passed away, and there was nothing that anyone could do to save them. Other officers and state troopers began scouring the area, trying to find the person responsible for this carnage. Ms. Pacheco got the attention of the police officers, and she pointed them in the direction of the McDonald's parking lot, the last place she saw him go. Mr. Muhammad happened to be in that McDonald's parking lot at the time, and he pointed the officers to the Taco Bell parking lot. Police followed these clues, and they located the defendant in the Taco Bell parking lot, sitting with 2 young women. You'll hear from one of those young ladies, whose name is Carolyn Stauffer. She'll tell you that the defendant limped towards Miss Stauffer and her friend, who were sitting at the curb eating their Taco Bell. They were just some of the pedestrians that were walking around in this area during the time of the defendant's incredibly dangerous driving. Ms. Stauffer observed the defendant, as he approached her, to be drenched in sweat and limping. The defendant asked Ms. Stauffer if he could use her cell phone, and she let him do so. He then made a call and asked the person on the other end of the phone to come and pick him up from the Taco Bell parking lot. Ms. Stauffer indicated that the defendant seemed desperate to get out of the area. After the defendant made the phone call, he sat down and he stayed with Ms. Stauffer and her friend for 5 to 10 minutes. Police approached around that time frame, and as they approached, they noticed that the defendant had a cut on his forehead that was actively bleeding. They asked the defendant what happened. The defendant claimed it was an old injury from a time when he tripped and fell over and hit his head. This was an immediate red flag to officers because they could tell that this was obviously a new injury. He was still bleeding. The defendant also happened to match the description of the person that the police were looking for. At that point, the defendant was detained for further investigation. He complained about being detained, and he insisted that he should be released so that he could go and enjoy the rest of his Friday night. After that, Ms. Pacheco was brought over to the area to do what's called a show-up. This is an opportunity for her to observe the person and then tell police whether or not this was the guy that she saw getting out of the Cadillac Escalade. Ms. Pacheco saw the defendant, and she confirmed that he was the man she saw earlier in the evening. After the defendant's arrest, a sample of his blood was taken so that toxicology testing could be done to determine if he had any signs of alcohol or controlled substances in his blood. He tested negative for any signs of alcohol use, negative for any hard drugs like meth or fentanyl, but positive for THC and THC metabolites. Now, the defendant isn't charged with any driving under the influence offense, but you'll hear about how this evidence could affect the overall dangerousness of his driving behavior in general. While the manhunt for the defendant and the eventual show-up were happening, investigators with the Minneapolis Police Department, evidence technicians with the MPD Crime Lab, and a crash reconstruction specialist from the Minnesota State Patrol were all called in to gather additional evidence. Police quickly located a Hertz rental car agreement near the Escalade, showing that the defendant was the renter of the vehicle. Crime lab technicians processed the Escalade for fingerprints and swabbed various parts of the vehicle and various items inside the vehicle for DNA. Now, Trooper Christopher Geiger, the crash reconstruction expert, mapped the area using various tools. He photographed the scene. He prepared the vehicles to be towed to a police lot where the crash data could be extracted from the vehicle themselves. That vehicle crash data would be used along with other data to provide further insight and information about the speed of the vehicles at various points in time and the force of the collision as measured by the change in velocity. One of the primary takeaways from that reconstruction will be that in the seconds leading up to the crash, the defendant drove at least 70 miles per hour over the speed limit. He swerved around cars, he ran a red light, and he rammed directly into the Honda Civic, which entered the intersection on a green light. Now, crime lab technicians were able to identify a fingerprint found on the center dashboard of the Escalade and another on a cell phone that was plugged in and charging in the center console as being the defendant's fingerprints. 2 cell phones were recovered from the car and showed evidence that they were used by the defendant. DNA analysis indicates that the defendant's DNA was part of a DNA mixture on the driver's side door and on multiple items located in a bag on the passenger floorboards of the vehicle. You're also going to hear evidence during this trial that the defendant's brother, DeMarco, his DNA was possibly found in one location of the vehicle. But DeMarco was never seen inside of the vehicle, and it is an open question whether he ever even entered the vehicle at all. You'll hear some testimony from DNA and fingerprint experts who will tell you about the science behind these investigative tools and what they mean for purposes of this investigation. Near the end of this trial, you'll hear testimony from Sergeant David Ligneal, who was the primary investigator on this case. He'll talk about the steps that he and others took to track down additional evidence and to try to piece together exactly what happened that night. Now, we are expecting this trial to last into next week, as you've heard a few times now. You'll hear the testimony from the witnesses that I just talked about during that time, and also some other witnesses that I haven't talked about. You'll see surveillance video, police body cam video, squad cam video, photographs, maps, and more. What I've tried to do here in this opening is I've tried to lay out the evidence in kind of a linear way that makes sense from beginning to end. And ideally, that's how we could present witnesses as well. Unfortunately, what happens when you try to arrange for dozens and dozens of witnesses to come in and testify is that people have doctor's appointments and vacations and work commitments and other reasons why they can't be here at exactly the perfect time when we want them. So while we're going to do our best to present this case in a way that makes sense and that is linear and logical, there's a very good chance, an almost certainty, that we'll have to call some witnesses out of order. But at the end of this trial, Ms. Starkey is going to come up here in closing and she's going to piece together this evidence and apply it to the law. Now, during this closing argument, Ms. Starkey is going to discuss the evidence presented at trial. She's going to break down the various charges. She's going to analyze the individual elements that make up each offense. And just to foreshadow a little bit of that for you, a lot of what you're going to hear about during this trial and a lot of the elements that you'll have to analyze, it's going to come down to what was going on in the defendant's head before, during, and after the crash. In her closing, Ms. Starkey is going to talk to you about certain legal concepts, things like gross negligence, fleeing the scene, eminently dangerous, and indifference to the loss of life. And I'm not going to define those here, but that's something that you'll hear about later. For the time being, while you're hearing the evidence in this case, ask yourself, how dangerous were the defendant's actions? What was his mindset when he did the things that the evidence shows he did in this case? Did the defendant flee the scene of the crash? And did his actions demonstrate an indifference to the loss of human life that he caused? When Ms. Starkey is done giving her closing, she's going to ask you to follow the evidence. She's going to show you how that evidence proves each and every element of each and every charge beyond a reasonable doubt. And lastly, at the very end, she's going to ask that you find the defendant guilty for all of the crimes that he committed and for all of the devastation that he caused.
All right, so we are going to move to the defense opening statements. And one thing I want to say is, when I had first started covering this case, and, we know that Mr. Thompson was driving at nearly 100 miles per hour through that stoplight, I was not prepared for that video at all.
Gentlemen of the jury, when the smoke clears and the dust settles from the accident that you just saw in the video, there are two things. The first, and I in no way want to minimize this, is an unspeakable tragedy, a tragedy of dimensions that involves 5 lives lost, 5 sets of dreams destroyed, 5 futures of relationships, full experiences gone. I don't know if words can express how immense that loss is, and I don't seek to diminish that. But the fundamental tragedy in that vehicle happens in relation to what happens in this car, the other car, a black SUV. When the dust settles, the smoke clears, you'll see multiple doors to this vehicle open. You will see the DNA of multiple people in this car who are seen renting the vehicle 35 minutes before this occurs. Now, I'll get into more details, but I want to talk more generally about what we're doing here today. This specific setup of a courtroom with the bar, the bench, the jury box, and the jury room has remained essentially unchanged for hundreds of years. There are 350-year-old jokes about hitting your knee on that door coming through it. It's been poorly designed for that long. But the reason why in our common law system we have established these standards is not because of any of this. It's about the setting of you, a set of citizens, of peers who can sit and weigh the evidence. Cultures for millennia have had concepts of a quorum, a minyan, a council, a group of people who sit together and deliberate evidence. The deliberative body in history has been venerated, and it is one of the primary protections we have in a democracy.
Objection, Your Honor. Improper argument in opening.
Overruled.
Now, we have gone through a period, jury selection just prior to this. Lawyers call it voir dire. It means to see people say things. We wanted to see what you had to say, and now you get to see what the state has to say. The design of the criminal justice system has put the sole burden on the state to prove each element beyond a reasonable doubt. There are modern trappings in this courtroom. There's screens, there's cameras, there's all sorts of things. But this is the most analog of institutions. This is the jury sitting together, taking their notes, waiting to deliberate, and then going back in that room and discussing what was proven beyond a reasonable doubt. This has been carried forward from the Magna Carta to the Declaration of Independence through the Civil War era amendments and their redemption in the Civil Rights era. And this is the fundamental basis of why you are here. Now, I'm here and the state's here because we have a fundamental dispute. They think that my client committed 5 acts, or 1 act posing 5 crimes, of depraved mind murder. And ladies and gentlemen, they simply don't have the quantum of evidence to establish that my client committed those crimes. They're also making similar charges of homicide related to negligence, leaving the scene, gross negligence. We will get into all of those details, but understand that there are 2 fundamental questions here. Who is driving the vehicle and what is his state of mind? Keep your eye on that throughout this trial. My client sits here presumed innocent, and the state has to put forward a case in which each and every element is proven beyond a reasonable doubt. And ladies and gentlemen, they won't do that. Fundamentally, he's not guilty of these charges. Just as we must wait for the smoke to clear and the dust to settle in the video, once the sound and the fury in the courtroom quiets to a time of reflection and humane deliberation, you will see that Mr. Derrick Thompson is not guilty. He was not acting with a depraved mind. What you'll see is a car accident that has an immense and an unspeakable result. The question of tragedy is not what this trial is about. The question presented here in this court is whether or not the state can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that my client drove that vehicle and if he had the specific mental state to commit murder, to commit homicide. And ladies and gentlemen, they simply cannot meet that burden. Thank you.
Hey, Gigi. Wow. So he started to lose me. This defense attorney lost me for a little bit. Like I started like kind of looking around. But to try to say that his client didn't have the state of mind to hurt people. Yeah, he did. He was evading police. He was putting others in danger, and he went through a red light at 95 miles an hour. That's like the definition of an depraved indifference. He didn't care. He only cared about himself, and who knows? He clearly had a history of doing these types of things, eluding police, speeding, refusing to stop, hurting people. I don't know, but yeah, he was a little scatterbrained. So the next 2 clips, it looks like we will have time to get through the body cam. So today we'll get through the body cam footage, and then tomorrow we will get into one of the victim's dad testifies, one of the victim's sisters testifies. There is more body cam footage. We'll get into closing arguments and the verdict. So I think I'll be able to do that all tomorrow. So the body cam footage is 2 different clips, each about 10 minutes. So it'll be about 20 minutes total. Hey, Nanny, this happened in Minneapolis on June 16th, 2023. And for those of you who may have come in a little late and you want to learn more about this case, I did post in the description of this live stream my initial live that I did covering this case back in June 2023, so nearly 2 years ago. It was actually one of the first cases I covered when I started my channel. All right, so I do want to also do a disclaimer, viewer discretion advised, because as I said, I was not expecting the clip that they showed in the prosecution opening statement, it was not, I wasn't ready for it. All right. So I do have a comment pinned, and I also have my banner going. So if you should have to leave or look away, please do so.
Sure. All right. Thank you. Just wanted to give that warning. Publishing.
Stop, we're exiting Lake Street. Oh, God. Not stopping. Didn't light him up. Oh, crash. All right, we are Lake Street. Never light up. Start fire, start medics. East Lake Street.
East Lake Street, start fire, medics.
Trooper Garrett, at the second half of that video when the audio kicks on, are you able to hear yourself communicating with dispatch there?
Yes.
And what information were you conveying to dispatch about what was happening?
The violator was continuing to drive in a extremely dangerous manner, exiting into a residential area where it's heavily populated, not slowing down. Wouldn't be able to get a stop in.
And I want to ask you about that in particular. Toward the end of the video, I heard something about a stop. Were you indicating that that vehicle was stopping or that you were not going to stop it?
The vehicle wasn't stopping. I wasn't going to stop it.
Okay, and why not?
Due to the unsafe manner.
Obviously, the video, especially with some headlights, can make it kind of hard to, I guess, perceive vehicles in front of you. You, in your squad car that evening, were you able to see the SUV for that entire time, or did you lose sight of it at any point?
On the interstate, while trying to catch up, yeah, don't have sight of it 100%, so that's why I was contacting dispatch to try to get those DOT cameras, get it located while I'm trying to catch up.
All right. And if I could, beginning at about 1 minute, 39 seconds in, if I may play just a portion here to ask you one other question.
Not stopping. Didn't light him up. Oh, crash. All right, we are Lake Street. Never light up. Start fire, start medics. East Lake Street.
East Lake Street, start fire, medics.
So for the record, stopping at about 1:58. As you approached the light here at Lake Street, did you slow your squad down?
Yes.
Or I guess hesitate to go into the intersection?
Yeah, I had to clear the intersection first.
What does that mean?
So we don't have the right of way, even with our lights and sirens. You still got to clear the intersection.
Okay, and clear means?
Proceed in a safe manner. Make sure no other cars crash into other cars.
All right, clear just isn't a verb that everybody uses, so I wanted to clarify that. You had the red light there. Once you cleared the intersection, I guess noted that you could. Did you proceed through, and was the crash on the other side?
Yes.
As you were observing the vehicle after it got off on the exit, were you able to see it encounter both of those both of those lights at, I think, 31st and then Lake?
Say that again.
Were you able to see that the vehicle as it encountered the stoplights at both 31st and Lake?
Yes.
And were you able to see whether they were red or green?
Yes.
Okay, and in terms of that first stoplight, what was it?
2nd Avenue and 31st was green.
And what, if anything, did you, how about the second light? Sorry.
2nd Avenue, Lake Street, red.
Okay. And what, if anything, did you observe about the vehicle's speed as it was coming down the exit ramp and onto 2nd?
Significantly faster than the posted speed limit.
So the next thing I want to ask you about is body camera, to kind of pick up here. In addition to squad videos, do state troopers wear body camera recording devices on their uniforms?
Yes.
About where is it situated on your uniform?
Center mass, right in the chest.
Middle of your chest?
Yes.
Okay. In general, when and how are those activated?
When we activate it personally by pressing it with our hand, or through the activation of our squad lights.
Okay. So even if you aren't hitting it to turn it on, but your squad lights go on, it's going to go on?
Correct. Or unholstering firearm.
Sure. Okay. In this particular situation, in addition to squad videos, there are also body camera from the body camera that was on your chest that night?
Yes.
And at some point after June 16th of 2023, have you had a chance to watch the body camera that was recorded from your camera?
Yes.
Did that body camera capture, to the extent that it's able, what happened on this scene?
Yes.
How are body cameras' ability to capture, how would you compare that to a person's ability to perceive what's happening around them? What are the differences?
Sure. Body camera footage captures the general incident, but can't capture every single fine detail or the totality of the incident.
When you're sitting in your squad, is your body cam at the same height as your eyes? Might seem like a dumb question, but.
No.
Okay. And so as this video begins, are we going to see basically your steering wheel?
Correct.
Okay. And have you, I think I already asked you about whether you've had a chance to look at it. The body camera recording appeared accurate, is that right?
Yes.
And Your Honor, I've marked that a clip of the body camera from Trooper Guerra as Exhibit 5, and I would move to admit it now.
No objection.
Exhibit 5 is received.
May I publish?
You may.
Where'd he go? What?
Hey, go to the alleyway.
Hey, they took off on the alleyway northbound. Sorry, medics here. We got a confirmed flight 4 here. Suspect fled northbound. Suspect's vehicle is John Paul Robert, 235 T-bone at the intersection. Okay. Hey, northbound, I think through the alley here, right?
What's he wearing?
I have no idea. What's he wearing? Hey, what's he wearing? What's he wearing? What's he gray sweater?
Yeah, white or gray.
White or gray sweater. It's a black male?
And he got lost.
White male, black male? Hey, stay away, stay away.
All right, so that was that clip. That seemed like it was shorter than 9 minutes, but so clearly with all of those witnesses around, you'd think they would have said, "Oh, there were 2 people," or whatever. They only said there's 1 person. The one kid I heard say he had locks, meaning dreadlocks. The police officer didn't repeat dreadlocks, but that definitely describes Mr. Thompson. All right, so let's get to the next. The next one is also body cam. And this is when they finally find Mr. Thompson, and we get to hear all of his excuses.
Right. I just want to be clear, Officer Beatty, you see kind of the first frame here of your body cam?
Yep.
That's not the very beginning of the recording, is
Correct.
it?
No. It is.
Okay. We've sort of gone to this relevant part. Where are you walking at this point?
Looks like we're walking south. Taco Bell's to the left here, and Officer Wright's in front of me as well.
Okay. Playing now.
341, you're out with EMS. They're okay. 360, we're out with them. They were okay. 2220. 341.
You guys see anybody coming over here?
31st.
Why are you bleeding? Huh? Why are you bleeding?
303.
Use your hands.
303.
Why are you bleeding?
For officers on scene, right now, we're supporting state patrol.
This old.
With that vehicle that
It's an old cut. Old cut? Yeah. It looks pretty fresh.
Third and Lake locked down.
What's your name?
And then we need to lock down at second and Lake.
Stand up.
If your squad car
Turn
is
around.
not in one of those 2 places, you can move it, please.
Because you're bleeding.
I'm bleeding. What you got to do?
Did you fall?
Yeah, this is an old cut, bro.
That looks pretty fresh to me.
This is dried up blood, bro.
Okay. All right. Hey, listen. White shirt, brown pants with the description. White shirt, brown pants with the description.
We're just trying to make sure you're good.
Okay.
We're just trying to make sure you're good.
Yeah,
What's your name? I'm Derrick Thompson.
Can you get your ID out? East of 2nd on Lake, and we'll get a squad down there at 31st. Stick that down.
Take a photo of this lady.
3131, we're at 31st and 2nd. Got it closed.
You guys are good?
Oh, yeah, no, we're just fine.
We just got a report that somebody got shot.
We're just
310.
Hey, you just got a fresh. You got a fresh blood on you. You do have fresh blood on you, bro. Yeah. That's why I called you out.
Oh, okay.
You don't no idea how that happened.
No, I fell. I slipped. I know
You
what
fell
I
and slipped. Where'd you fall and slip at?
I fell.
06 Taco Bell's code 4.
Fifth and Lake, right by the
Fifth and Lake?
By the damn auto.
All right. Sounds good. Let's go ahead and get everybody that's not either 5s or 3s.
All right, man.
Yeah, you guys sure he's there?
White shirt, brown
I'm trying to
pants
get
was
this
the description.
state patrol guy over here.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm good. Hunting and everything.
That's code 4.
Yeah.
I'm good, bro.
All right, bro, just relax. DeAndre, right?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. My name is Lewis.
Yeah.
My name is Lewis. So we're just gonna have someone.
I've been here a hot minute, bro.
My man.
You literally are sweating.
I know. I just got harassed by the police. I just gave y'all my ID. I took a picture of me and everything.
I understand. Can you just have a seat for me?
Yes, sir.
Sit down.
I was sitting out there, sir. I was. Y'all told me to
You want
stand
to call
up.
for a state unit?
So why are you what
I told you, I bust my shit right there on Fifth and Lake off that damn auto. Literally.
running?
Was I running? No.
11 states requested K9 at Lake 2nd.
So I guess how did you bust your face?
I tripped over a fucking log like this right there behind them. How do they have fucking parking spots like this? I tripped over it and I fucking fell.
For any reason?
I'm gonna have the state patrol guy come over.
We're just double checking.
Yeah, ain't no problem. I have no problem with doing that.
That's from the.
I know y'all doing y'all
the
job.
cameras. Yeah.
Stand by.
I'm gonna walk over there.
All right.
Do we have a description on the suspect? identification of what the identity is for. Is it for a suspect or is it for article?
503. The shots were hurting the distance. This is a state patrol accident. They have
Y'all got all other shit going on.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on right now. Y'all got shots fired, all type of shit.
What is the K9 for?
Yeah, y'all can check me. I have no gun residue and I have
Okay. 303. Let me figure that out. I'm not going to right now. I'll let you guys know what you need.
306 to 303. We have an individual here in Taco Bell. We just want to confirm that this isn't the individual that State Patrol is chasing. If they want to come and ID this, do it real quick.
The K9 was for the suspect who potentially ran through an alley here. We have any sort of perimeter set up before we start doing a track.
306, can we get the description of that suspect, please?
Black male, 6'2", 620, just blonde dread, brown pants, white t-shirt.
Stand up, man. You know I ain't got no damn. Yeah, come on, I stand up, but I ain't got no. I don't have no fucking blonde dreads.
You have that L on the top of the park.
What you doing, Reggie? For real, bro?
333, we're trying to work out state now.
Oh my God.
Just hold on to that guy. We'll get someone over to check it out here.
Let's just put him in a squad car. Yeah, thank you, please, sir. I don't have blonde dreads or anything. My dreads is not blonde, sir.
We'll check. We'll make sure.
Far from blonde.
Thanks, my man.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. I understand y'all gotta find somebody, but please don't make me be the guy tonight.
Just face the squad here. And separate your feet.
Six copies, we'll send them over.
Yep. Second away, copy. There's another guy in custody. I have no idea what this is the one that you said. I don't know if there's another one.
Yeah, that don't make no sense. Blonde, look at my hair, bro. Blonde hair, bro. She has blonde hair, bro.
We just double check.
It's not you. You don't have to do anything, bro. You said that you were going to have to. That's all we just got to
And leg straight. Check that.
340, we're going to be attempting to push the crowd back because of the PI.
Why is it like shaking, man? You like, this fucking haircut, bro. This shit's tight, bro.
03, let's get that J all the way to third.
At the intersection. Alright, he has money in his pockets. His wallet's right here. Okay.
Nothing.
Where's the money? In his pockets. Just pull it out.
Bro, I get it, bro. Y'all, is y'all detaining me?
Yeah, you're being detained. That's what I said. That's what I told you, man.
No, but I'm saying because you just told me that you was waiting on somebody to pull up.
Yep.
Now you telling me that I'm
we got the confirmation, man. We're just gonna double check again, right? With the state trooper.
I don't want to make y'all mad. I just want to go home, man. That's all, bro. Y'all took a picture of my ID. Y'all have everything about me. And I don't understand what is the reason of y'all still detaining me.
Just go in there.
Ooh, shit.
What's your leg hurt?
I know, they're not made for comfort.
Okay, I've got the ambulance identified as well.
Can you unloosen this handcuff?
Yeah.
Get in?
Just we'll do it from the other side.
Okay.
3 flight almost there. We're pushing the new perimeter to third and late up to 29.
Can you unloosen this handcuff?
Yep. We'll come. appreciate you working with us.
Yeah.
Because you gotta understand the situation.
That's the other one, bro.
Good.
Appreciate it, bro.
All right, so we're going to keep going because I thought this would take a little bit longer than I had anticipated. So I'm not exactly sure what's next because I didn't write it down. So let's see. Okay, so now we're going to get into family testimony. So I believe, I don't know how long this is, but this is a sister of one of the victims. And then next is going to be the father of one of the victims. And then I think at that point, we'll call it a day. And tomorrow at 4:15 Eastern time, we will finish it up. So we will look at the rest of the witnesses that I was able to find clips of, closing arguments, verdict, because a verdict has come in this case. So we'll learn that tomorrow. And for those of you coming in a little late, just to summarize this case, this took place on June 16th, 2023. So nearly 2 years to the day. And 5 girls were out having fun. They were scheduled to be at a wedding the following day, a wedding they never made it to because Mr. Thompson, who has a history of eluding police and who had been convicted of a hit and run in California, he was sentenced to 8 years. He served between 3 and 4 years. He was released in January 2023, 6 months before this event happened. Also, he had gotten his license 9 days prior to this. He was also charged with weapons and drug charges. As a convicted felon, he cannot have weapons. He also had 2,000 fentanyl pills, fentanyl dust, cocaine, and I feel like there was something else he had. I don't remember. But his federal trial was in October. He was found guilty on all of those charges. I have a note to look up what he was sentenced to in that case. But this case is in relation to the 5 girls he killed. He is facing criminally negligent homicide charges as well as 3rd-degree murder charges. Yes. Yes. And Gigi, like that, when they showed, like when I imagine 100 miles per hour, I know it's fast. Yet seeing that video, like it's like they say, a blink of an eye. You blink and you missed it. It was that fast.
My name is Rukia Gasade, RUKIAGESAADE.
Thank you. Mr. Piquet?
Good afternoon, Ms. Casade. Can you please tell us how old you are?
I'm 21 years old.
And do you live in a suburb of Minneapolis?
Yes, I live in Brooklyn Center.
Who do you live with?
I live with my family, my parents, my siblings.
How many siblings do you have?
About 5, 6.
How long have you and your family lived in Brooklyn Center?
For about as long as I know, so basically my whole life.
How old are your siblings that you live with?
It ranges from 23 to 6 years old.
You have another sibling you mentioned, and is that a sibling named Sarah?
Yes, yeah, my older sister.
Is she alive today?
No.
Did she pass away on June 16th of 2023?
Yes, she did.
How did you first learn that she had passed away?
I first learned that she passed away that same night. I was sleeping. I came back from work around like 8 p.m., I would say. And I came home, I was sleeping, and I was woken up by my 2 brothers. And they were like, hey, we gotta go. And when we left, we got in the car, and it didn't feel good. I could tell that something was up.
So as you got in the car and you were driving somewhere else, you didn't really know the full scope of the situation? Is that
No,
right?
no, I didn't know.
Did you know that something had happened with your sister, Sarah?
Yes, at that time, I did know that something happened with my sister Sarah, and I knew some of the girls that were in it, but I didn't know if it was them for sure or not. But I did know for sure that my sister was amongst them.
Your brothers wake you up, you get in the car, you're going to go to another location.
Yeah.
Where did you guys go?
So at this point, we got in the car and we were driving to Lake Street, where the accident happened.
And what did you see when you got there?
At that point, I heard the news pretty late. I wasn't there in the beginning of when everybody got there. I came around 2 a.m., I would say, so pretty late after the crash. And when I went there, I just saw like a lot of ambulance, like yellow tape and like, yeah, so yellow tape, ambulance, people crying, but I don't really 100% know that they passed away just yet at this point.
Did you find out at some point while you were on scene?
Yes, like people were coming to me like, hey, like, sorry for your loss. Yeah, so at that point I figured out that Sarah passed away. And then I wasn't too sure who was in the car at the time. So they were just telling me the names of a couple of my friends who were also in the car.
So I want to go back a little bit. Do you know what your sister was doing that night? What brought her to that area?
Yeah, so that following morning, she dropped me off at work in the morning, and she was just telling me about like, hey, I'm gonna go get henna, and I'm gonna go with her friends after work. I told her, hey, like I can do your henna for you, but she insisted. She was like, I'm gonna go with my friends. So I didn't know that she was gonna go to Caramel and get her henna done with her friends at the time.
What's henna?
Henna is like, it's like body art, kind of like not a permanent tattoo, but it's like it leaves after like about a week.
And was there any special event or anything coming up where she wanted to have the henna done?
So there was a wedding on the following night, the next day, but they never made it. So
Do you know whose vehicle was being used by Sarah and the other girls?
yes, the vehicle was the vehicle that we have at our house, the Civic that we shared here and there. When she came from Rochester from school, she would use that car, but mainly me and like my siblings would use it.
But it wouldn't be unusual for Sarah to use that car.
No, yeah.
Can you tell us all a little bit about Sarah?
Honestly, to speak, I can't really like put Sarah into like words because she was like everything, like a mentor, a built-in best friend. She was a very smart person. I always looked up to her growing up. We were very close in age, about a year apart. So.
How old was Sarah when she passed away?
Sarah was 20 years old at the time when she passed away.
You said that you and she had a very close relationship.
Yes, we did.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Growing up, we were always kind of like always brought up together. Like we looked alike, so my parents would make us like match clothes. I can't even put our relationship into words because literally I did everything with her. My first things I learned how to bike, how to swim, how to read, all my first words were with her. So I can't really put it into words, kind of, because she was just everything to me. And like growing up, all my siblings were all very close, and like she was just, I would say like my best friend.
What were some of her interests? What were some of the things that Sarah liked?
Sarah's interests growing up were like always hanging out with her friends. Like she loved quality time. She loved helping others. I think that's something that is very profound of her. She's very selfless, I would say, always helping. She loved reading. I think she just loved her family so much. She loved her friends. She loved, honestly, school. Like, although it's tough, she loved school. You'll never catch her without her iPad. Like, always wanting to learn more, always wanting to help. She wanted to become a doctor, and everything was taken away from her. And not just her, but 4 other sisters,
You said that she wanted to become a doctor. Was she in school at the time of the?
Yeah. So she was in school. She was about to get into her last year of school. She always wished since she was young, like, hey, I want to become a doctor. Like, it was one of those things, like, from a young age, we have, like, you have dreams, you tell your parents, hey, I want to become this. Our parents, they didn't. We're first generation. We want to make them proud. We want to. And it was something that we'd always say to our parents, like, hey, we want to do this. We want to make you happy, you know, because our parents, you know, like, they didn't have it easy. So we wanted to make them proud. It's just like, I want to be a doctor. She was just so close to the finish line, not that far away from it, you know. So
did she have plans for graduation?
yeah, so she was basically almost done with her credits. I would say by the end of that, like when that crash happened, she had about a semester left of credits. So she wanted to do study abroad with her friend Yasira and Haley, and she just never made it. So she was so close. All that hard work, all those staying up at night, all that on hitter she pulled, everything that she did, basically gone to waste in an instant. And she never got to see her fruits of her effort. Never got to see, like, hey, you know. Even the night before she actually passed away, she was actually staying up for an assignment. She had summer classes. So even her last moments, she didn't even get to enjoy.
And what school was it that she was going to at the time?
She went to Rochester, U of M.
Was there a graduation ceremony that was held there at some point?
Yes, there was. There was a graduation ceremony last May.
And was there any invitation or anything that the school did for Sarah?
Yes. So they had a couple of events organized. One of the events were like basically to remember the remembrance of Sarah, and the chancellor went above and beyond for her. And yeah, so yeah, and then her graduation ceremony. Yeah, so that I attended that last May.
Was there a degree that was extended at that graduation ceremony?
Yes, there was a degree, her bachelor's degree in health science.
And who walked for her as part of that ceremony?
I did.
And you accepted that degree for her?
Mm-hmm.
Is that it? Yes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did.
Right. I just want to ask you a few more questions. I know this is really hard. And I know there's no way to put this into words, but can you try your best to tell me?
I am so sorry. Give me 1 second, everyone. I don't know what just happened. It just completely dropped. Okay, sorry about that. I'll rewind it a little bit.
One of the events were like basically to remember the remembrance of Sarah, and the chancellor went above and beyond for her. And yeah, so yeah, and then her graduation ceremony. Yeah, so that I attended that last May.
Was there a degree that was extended at that graduation ceremony?
Yes, there was a degree, her bachelor's degree in health science.
And who walked for her as part of that ceremony?
I did.
And you accepted that degree for her?
Mm-hmm.
Is that it? Yes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did.
Right. I just want to ask you a few more questions. I know this is really hard. And I know there's no way to put this into words, but can you try your best to tell me how the loss of Sarah has affected you and your family?
I honestly feel like every day, like I wake up, I look at her bed like, hey, she's never coming home. I look at her clothes that she's never gonna wear. I look at everything like, hey, I'm never gonna see her get married. I'm never gonna see. I'm never gonna see her attend my wedding, my graduations. That's gonna happen next year. She's never gonna attend those things. And my family, they're devastated. Every day we wake up, we know that she's never gonna come home again. We know that We're never going to hear her laugh. We're never going to see her smile. We're never going to see anything. And then 10 of the parents that are here in the courtroom today, they'll never see their daughters. They'll never see their smile. They'll never see the fruits of putting effort into their child, never seeing their graduation. They were so young, everything taken away from them, like 17 to 20, like their life was just starting. Everything gone in one instant, just like this. So I have, like, I don't know, it's really sad.
I'm just about done here, but can we show the witness the photo on the screen, Your Honor? I'm showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 18. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yeah, I do.
And does this photograph include your sister, Sarah?
Yes.
And is this true and accurate photograph that your family provided to my office?
Yes.
I'd offer Exhibit 18.
No objection.
Exhibit 18 is received.
Permission to publish.
Yes.
Can you tell us who we see in this photograph and kind of what the context is behind it?
Yeah, that's my sister Sarah, and that's my mom. And the context is, I think we're at my house, and I think they just took a selfie together.
Do you know how old she was in this photograph?
I'd say like roughly 19.
All right, I didn't think it was going to cut off like that. Wow. What struck me is that she knew something was wrong, but other people found out about her sister passing before she did. And, it makes me kind of reflect and to think about, sometimes, I think, oh, well, the family must know if I know. And so you say, I'm sorry for your loss, things like that. And they may not know yet. It's just, with social media, I feel like things it spreads like wildfire. All right, so we're going to do one more video, one more clip, and then we will call it a day. Part 2 will be tomorrow at 4:15 Eastern time. And I believe the next one is of the dad. Yes, okay. So this is testimony of one of the fathers of a victim. All of the families, one thing I don't think I mentioned is all of the families were from Somalia, and just the girls were amazing.
Could you please say and spell your name for the record?
Magacaaga noo sheeg noona higaadi.
Burhan, Burhan. Last name is Warfa,
Warfa. First name Burhan, Burhan.
Double A. Not
double A. Burhan, Burha.
No. Burhan. Last name Warfa or double A.
Thank you. Mr. Hanneman?
Sir, I'm going to ask you to pull that microphone down even a little bit closer to your mouth, if that's okay. Thank you. How old are you?
I'm almost 59.
I am 59 years old.
And what city do you live in?
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis.
And who do you live with there?
Yeah, kula nool oo kula degan.
Xaaskeyga.
My wife.
And do you have any children?
Ilmo guriga ma kuu joogaan?
Hadda maya.
Not living with me right now.
How about, do you just have children?
لكن ilmo ma dhashay haddii aan kula deganin hataa.
ها waa dhalay.
Yes, I do have.
How many children do you have?
Meeqa carruur had leedahay?
3 baa joogta hadda.
3 at present now.
hal waa baasgareeyey, 2 waa nool yihiin.
1 passed away and 2 is still alive.
And was the one that passed away Sagal Hersey?
Gabadha dhimatay Sagal soo ma ahan.
Ha, waa Sagal.
Yes.
And when did she die?
Goormeed dhimatay?
Waxay dhimatay June 16keedii 2023.
June 16, 2023.
In the car collision that we're here to talk about today?
Baabuur shil dhacay dartiisoon maanta halkaan u joognay ku dhimatay soo ma ahan.
Ha.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to look at an exhibit that's marked as Exhibit 19.
Waxaad fiirisaa bandhig ama waraaq ay ku taalo 19 ama Exhibit 19.
Do you see that on the screen?
Ma u jeedaa sawirka? Yes, I can see it.
And was this the photograph of Sagal that you provided to our office?
Masawirkaas masawir aad xafiiskeena u dhiibtay waaye adiga iyo Sagal soo ma ahan.
Ha.
Yes.
Then I'd ask to offer Exhibit 19 and publish.
Waxaan rabaa in la ogolaado.
Exhibit 19 is received.
Way aqbasho maxkamadda inay aragto.
Could you tell us who we see in this photograph?
Ma ii sheegi kartaa sawirka meeshaas ka muuqdo waxaan arkayno.
Ha, waa qalinjabintii walaalkeed ka yidhi Zakariya.
That's the graduation of Sagal's younger brother.
And what's his name?
Magaciis wiilkaas. Zakaria.
And is that Sagal there on the left in this photograph?
Sawirka bidixda qofta taagan waa Sagal soo ma ahan.
Ha.
Yes.
And who is to her right?
Midigtana yaa Sagal ka xigo.
Aabaheed, Burhaan.
Burhaan, her father.
That's you?
Adiga waay soo ma ahan.
Ha.
Yes.
When was this photograph taken?
Sawirkan goormee la qaaday?
Dhimashadeeda 2 week ka hor.
2 weeks before she died.
So June of 2023?
June 23 sanadka soo ma ahan. June 2023 ma sawirkan la qaaday.
Maya. June 23 waa dhimatay markaas. Waxa weeye waa qiyaastii dhimashadeedii week iyo bar qiyaas ahaantii ka hor.
Yes, just like week and a half, maybe 2 weeks before the accident or before she passed away.
And this was at her younger brother's high school graduation?
Walaalkeed ka yar markuu dugsiga sare dhameeyay waaye soo ma ahan.
Ha.
Yes.
And who was her other sibling?
Yaa kale oo la dhashay Zakaria, Sagal.
Waxaa la dhashay gabar ay hooyadeed dhashay iyo aniga wiilka loo dhalay.
She have a half sister and also half brother.
At this time, when this photograph was taken, how old was Sagal?
Masawirkan markii la qaaday meeqa sanay jirtay Sagal?
19 bay gashay.
She just became 19. She turned 19 years old.
So at this point, had she graduated from high school?
Markaas mar hore high school ka soo
Way
dhamaysay.
ka soo qalin jabisay ha.
Yes, she graduated, yes.
From where?
Iskoolkee ka qaran jabisay.
Halkan.
Iskoolkee? Lincoln High School in Minneapolis, he said.
And what was she doing after her high school graduation?
Markii ay dugsiga sare dhamaysay ka bacdi maxay sameynaysay?
Waxay isku diyaarinaysay jaamacadda 2 sano loo diyaargaroobo ku jirtay. Jaamacad ayay isku diyaarinaysay 2 sano waxaa jirta mar walba jaamacadda qof intuusan bilaabin la sii diyaargareeyo 2 sano waxay ku jirtay jaamacad ay isku diyaarinayso.
She was trying to enroll in university.
And which university was she trying to enroll in?
جامعة ديرتي.
سنبول جامعة كتالي.
There is a university in St. Paul.
Is it St. Paul College?
St. Paul College, yes.
And do you know what she wanted to study?
maxay rabtay uma lahaysaa inay majorkeeda ama ay barato
waxay jeclayd caafimaadka.
She would like to medical.
What was she doing the night she died?
habeenkii ay dhimanaysay maxay samaynaysay
waxay isku diyaarinaysay gabar saaxiibteeda nikaax ay lahaayeen habeenka ku xigtay marka way korkeedii ka shaqaynaysay.
She was preparing a wedding on Sagalis Fran, who's getting following night. So she was trying to prepare that wedding.
And did you know the other girls that she was with?
gabdhaha kale ay la joogtay ma taqaanaa?
Ha, waa gabdhihii la dhintay Allah naxariista.
Yes, I know them. They all died together, so I know the other girls. Yes.
Were they all close?
كل صاحبتي ahaayeen.
Ha.
Yes.
And were some of them her relatives?
Kuwa qaraabay ahaayeen.
Ha.
Yes.
How did you find out what happened?
Said ku ogaatay shilka soo u dhacay ama se wuxuu dhaceen?
abaarihii waqtigii shilka dhacay baa waxaa i soo wacday gabadha Sabriin oo ah gabar aan abti u ahay gabadhii ka weynayd iyada oo aamusila oo aan la yaabanahay oo leedahay abti Sagal waa dhimatay Sabriin waa dhimatay Siham waa dhimatay Zahra waa dhimatay Salmo.
I got a call from a niece and she was crying when she called, and then she mentioned the names of the girls who passed away, you know, Sagal, Sabreen, so on and so forth. They all died. She was crying and I couldn't understand what she's saying because she was a lot of pain that time.
What did you do when you found out?
maxaad samaysay markii aad ogaatay arrintaas?
Shabe noqotay.
I was shocked.
What was Sagal like as a person?
Sagal qof ahaan gabar ahaan maxaad ka sheegi kartaa ka warran bal?
gabadheedii ugu qaali ah nolosheedana wax ku iloobi kale keliya.
It is very hard for me. She was the best daughter any father can have.
And what made her such a wonderful daughter?
maxaa is leedahay gabar aad u wanaagsan inay ahayd maxaa ka dhigay maxaad is leedahay?
dadaalka waalidnimo aan gelinay shakhsiyadeeda ilaahay u siiyey qof waxay igu qaali ah oo maanta nolosha.
She was very dear to me. We put a lot of preparation for her to become what she was that time. So it's hard for me to forget. She was a wonderful daughter, very smart.
And how have things changed without her?
markii ay dhimatay kadib arrimahaas isku bedelaan xaggaaga aab ahaan.
ilaa haddadaas ayada xaaladeeda ma degana ma aqaan xataa ina
I'm not the same person that I used to be. Always thinking about her.
Thank you, sir. I don't have any further questions.
Mr. Bliss?
I have no questions. Thank you, Honor.
Thank you, sir. You may step down.
Alrighty. Tough case for sure. And it's one thing I wish they would have done more so with the witness testimony is to also show the demeanor of Derrick Thompson. I'm just curious as to what his, facial expressions, does he show any remorse, or is he sitting arrogant like Wade Wilson did? So yeah, tomorrow we will have part 2, which I do believe I will be able to get through the rest of the testimony that I was able to find, as well as closing arguments and the verdict, because the verdict came in this past Friday. Thank you again to Pookie for letting me know that this was happening. It just reminded me that I need to go through all of my older live streams to see where they are now. Because, I've done so many stories that some of them, I'll remember if I talk about something similar, but, they go way to the back of my mind and I don't really think of them. So that's one thing that I need to do. That brings back Dadeville, Alabama, the mass shooting at the 16th birthday party. What happened to those kids that were arrested? Who did it? There was Dadeville, and then there was another one in Alabama. I don't remember the town. But yeah, it just reminds me that I need to go back and start looking at those. Gigi, I am not sure about when his sentencing is. I am hoping that they mention that during the sentencing, but I will make a note to look that up. That is, of course, if he's found guilty, which I know what the verdict was, but I'm not going to ruin it for everyone else. And if you do know the verdict, I just ask that you keep it to yourself until we get to it tomorrow. Let's see. Do we know when they came to the U.S.? That I do not know. But I think I might actually watch my live stream because there's so much that I forgot about this case. So I feel like I need to revisit it myself. So thanks everyone for being here. I know Sinner, I think, is going live at 6 Eastern time. Excuse me. My dad is coming down to install new security cameras. So there's that. So I will be hopefully see you at Sinners. If not, if I don't see you on these YouTube streets, I will see y'all tomorrow or on the flip side.
You have one shot on stage, what you got to play? Generic drops for days, still the people rage. Am I not insane? Can you stop and explain why these drops are so lame? Is money buying you fame? I'm fucking on, I'm killing it with this song. You haters can sing along or go back where you belong. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with giving up, moving on. Cause I took your girl to prom, she can't help but sing this song. Till the roof comes off, till the lights go out, till my legs give out, can't shut my mouth, till the smoke clears out, and my high harass. I'ma rip this shit till my bones collapse. Till the roof comes off, till the lights go out, till my legs give out, can't shut my mouth, till the smoke clears out, and my high harass. I'ma rip this shit till my bones collapse. 30 rack. She's so on like a light switch, flirting back. There's nothing wrong with the way that she's working that. I just want that body bad, come on baby, bring it back. I'm so gone, faded off a 30 rack. She's so on like a light switch, flirting back. There's nothing wrong with the way that she's working that. I just want that body bad, come on baby, bring it back. I rap with a passion, yeah, I got it in me. I've been waiting quite a long time for y'all to hear me. It's about damn time you put some stock into me. You're either sponsoring me or fucking bothering me. And the fact is, we just practice on this madness. That is why our status is like a canvas. Chances our advancement is enhancing, and this new expansion's like a mansion. Comes off till the lights go out, till my legs give out. Can't shut my mouth till the smoke clears out. And my high progress, I'ma rip this shit till my bones collapse. Till the roof comes off, till the lights go out, till my legs give out. Can't shut my mouth till the smoke clears out. And my high progress, I'ma rip this shit till my bones collapse.